Amazing Millionaire exposes $100,000 in a revealing test that transforms an employee's life. Tom stared at the fluorescent lights humming above the polished floor of the law firm, their glare biting into his humble existence. It was still dark outside when he arrived for his shift, mop and bucket in hand, ready to scrub away the remnants of another day filled with the high stakes and high egos of the lawyers in crisp suits. He blended into the walls, invisible behind the glass doors that opened to an empire of ambition. There were whispers of a challenge, a competition that could change everything. A $100,000 reward was dangled, tempting the staff to reach beyond their everyday routines, but the prize felt light years away from him, a distant dream not meant for someone who cleaned and tidied the messes left behind by the more esteemed. Every morning the same faces passed him by, calculating eyes focused solely on their lofty goals, never bending toward his world. Why would they care about a janitor's thoughts? Tom's mind spiraled, each question multiplying the heaviness he carried home each night. His children laughed at their dinners, filling the small house with joy and warmth, and yet the bills kept coming. The weight of financial instability pressed heavily on his chest. His dreams flickered like a candle in the wind, too fragile to confront, but too significant to ignore. And then Jack, the firm's millionaire owner, made the announcement. The air crackled with anticipation as the employees buzzed with ideas. For Tom, the immediate rush of envy was overwhelming. He hesitated, wrestling with the fear of stepping into their world, cloaked in their dismissive laughter and arrogant skepticism. His father had often said, "Dream big, son, but know your place." That phrase wrapped tightly around Tom's mind, a barbed wire of self-doubt that constricted with every passing moment. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But there was an ember hidden underneath his skin, fanned to life by memories of his father's relentless encouragement. Would it be wrong to reach out, to clutch the spark of hope? The days dragged by, tension curling inwards like a serpent, squeezing him tighter with every second. Voices rang through the hall, their laughter cutting through Tom's resolve as he overheard snickers at the absurdity of a janitor competing for a prize so far beyond his station. Did they really think he had no voice? Everything came to a head on the final presentation day. The air felt thick, every breath labored. He walked into the conference room, hands clammy, heart racing. All eyes were on him, and the walls seemed to compress. But as he began to speak, something shifted in the air. He felt Jack's scrutiny. Was it doubt or intrigue? The judgmental faces around him blurred into a single judgment. Who was he to interrupt their world? With every word he spoke, he felt their disbelief push against him. What if he failed? What if he slipped back into the shadows? As Tom's idea spilled forth, a quiet resolve washed over him, but it was met with scorn, the tension snapping like a taut wire. Did he even matter? Was this moment worth the humiliation? The room pulsed with unease, and his heart sank deeper. With all he had laid bare, did he make an impact? Would they ever see him beyond the mop and bucket? In the desolate silence that followed his pitch, uncertainty hung thick, chilling him to the bone. The stakes had risen higher, teetering on the precipice of hope and despair. His future, his family's future, all balanced on a knife's edge in a world that seemed bent on keeping him silent. Tom left the conference room, heart heavy yet racing. The murmurs of disbelief still echoed in his ears, a suffocating reminder of how far removed he was from their world. Each step away felt like a retreat from both victory and defeat, and he could almost hear the condescending chuckles lingering behind him. Back in the solitude of his cleaning closet, he set the mop against the wall, pressing his palms against the cool metal, as if seeking comfort from it. It was quiet here, devoid of judgment, but within that silence, the fiery ember of determination roared back to life. Deep breath steadied his racing heart as he confronted the moment, a reckoning not just of his present, but of his concealed aspirations. Tom couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted within him during that presentation. He had stood in front of them, had spoken his truth, and despite the scorn, he had dared to claim a piece of the future he craved. This could be a defining juncture. He assigned each flickering doubt a name, confronted every insidious whisper. What echoed back was not just fear, but the raw, unfiltered passion of a man determined to redefine not only his circumstances, but also how he saw himself. For too long, he had conformed to the constraints of the janitorial role, accepting the identity that others had assigned him. That day, he had the rare chance to speak with authority, to share a vision that could change his life. Reflecting on his father's words, that persistent notion of knowing his place, Tom grappled with its twisted meaning. Knowing his place did not mean remaining stagnant. It was the foundation upon which he could build something greater. What if he expanded his dreams beyond servitude? What if he embraced who he could become, rather than who others wanted him to be? With newfound zeal, Tom took action. The clock ticked mercilessly as he cleaned, but his focus shifted, and once mundane tasks became the backdrop for creativity. Ideas surged. What if he took a proverbial leap and transformed the proposal he pitched? He had glimpsed the firm's inner workings, the pressure points and inefficiencies. He could offer something innovative. During breaks, he rummaged through his notebook, scribbling down ideas and refining them, piecing together his knowledge and experience as a janitor with strategic insight. Tom delved into research, discovering not just improvements for the firm, but applications that could resonate across various industries. Days turned into nights, and he felt more alive than he had in years. This was not merely about the money. This was about defining himself, shaping his future into something extraordinary. Yet, threads of unease wound around his heart as he prepared for the next step. What if he approached Jack again? What if he requested a meeting to present not just criticism, but solutions? The weight of potential rejection felt daunting. The ghosts of laughter hovered near. But a seed of conviction had taken root. He had a seat at the table, and the table was for anyone brave enough to claim it. Hours later, after closing up, he caught sight of his reflection in the polished glass doors that shield the firm's entrance. The janitor's uniform clung to him like an old skin ready to shed. In the glass, he saw not just a man with a mop, but a man with a vision, and suddenly the horizon stretched out, welcoming his reach. But the next morning loomed ahead, fraught with questions. Would Jack see the value in an idea born from the perspective of the very man who cleaned the floors beneath his polished shoes? Would he laugh again? Or would he hear Tom? Determined, Tom steeled himself for confrontation, knowing that the time had come to either rise or retreat permanently. The moment was drawing near. The following morning dawned with an unsettling blend of excitement and dread. Tom dressed with deliberate care, smoothing his uniform as if trying to embody the professionalism he hoped to exude. Each button fastened was a reminder of the gravity of the day ahead. He glanced at the reflection in the bathroom mirror, still seeing the janitor, but also catching the shadow of the leader he aspired to become. Gone were the days of mere acceptance. He was ready to forge his own path. As he made his way to the office floor, intuition sharpened, and doubts mingled with determination. He rehearsed his words in his mind, imagining how Jack could respond, faces swirling in an emotional cacophony of disbelief and opportunity. The air pulsed with surreal energy, propelling him forward despite every whisper that clawed at his confidence. Arriving at Jack's office, he hesitated briefly at the door. A soft knock echoed in the stillness, emphasizing how momentous this was. "Come in," came Jack's voice, sound both commanding and indifferent. Tom stepped inside, the aroma of coffee and polished wood heavy in the air, symbols of wealth and power that had felt so far removed from his reality. Jack eyed him from behind the expansive desk, his expression a mix of curiosity and surprise. "Tom, what brings you here?" There was a hint of condescension, the remnants of their previous encounter alive in the air. Tom swallowed hard, the knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. "I'd like to discuss the proposal I presented," he began, his voice steadying as he saw Jack's eyebrows raise. "I've been working on some solutions that could improve operations significantly. I believe they could save the company both time and money." He immediately noticed the shift in Jack's demeanor. A flicker of intrigue crossed his sharp features. Here was the opening he craved. Tom streamlined his ideas, weaving through the details with a clarity that surprised even himself. Every solution he laid out spoke to the inefficiencies he had witnessed, each word crafted with intention and backed by research that reinforced his insights. "And how exactly do you plan to implement these changes?" Jack interjected, leaning back in his chair, his skepticism evident. Tom's mind raced. "I can develop a framework to introduce these processes gradually, ensuring team buy-in. We can pilot them in sections, reducing disruption while we test efficacy," he responded, quickly pushing forward. He could feel heat rising to his face, a visceral sign of his fervor. Jack frowned slightly, considering. The moment felt suspended, tension thickening the air. Tom contained his breath. Was this the moment when he would finally be seen? Not just as the janitor, but as a contributor, a changemaker? Interesting, Jack finally mused, but his tone held a trace of doubt that made Tom's chest tighten. The scene before him had shifted entirely from the conception of a lowly worker to an assertive visionary. He realized he was no longer seeking approval. He was claiming acknowledgement. With a flick of Jack's wrist, he raised a finger. "Let's say I'm intrigued. You'll need to put this in writing for our next meeting. I want facts, figures, projections, everything. We'll circle back and see if there's a real case here." Tom nodded, excitement swirling despite the whirlwind of criteria. However, the victory's taste was bittersweet. He hadn't just faced Jack. He had confronted his own fear of inadequacy, transforming it into a catalyst for growth. As Tom left the office, heart pounding with a mix of triumph and lingering uncertainty, he understood that this was just the beginning. The challenge of crafting a comprehensive proposal now loomed before him, a labyrinth of data and strategy to navigate. Yet he also felt the stirrings of potential within him. Would he rise to the occasion, exceeding even his expectations? Only time would tell, but for the first time, the prospect of success seemed tangible. He needed to harness this momentum and channel it into action. The idea of transforming his life was no longer a distant dream. It was finally within reach. And as he walked through the familiar halls, something deeper stirred in him. What would he uncover if he pushed beyond what he thought he was capable of? What new avenues waited just beyond his grasp? Each step echoed with an unrelenting pulse of ambition, and for the first time in his life, he felt the walls he had built around himself beginning to crack. Little did he know, the real test lay just ahead, waiting to challenge everything he thought he knew about himself. Tom sank into his desk chair, the weight of the task ahead pressing down on him. He opened his laptop, fingers hovering above the keyboard, but uncertainty still knotting his stomach. The proposal needed to be flawless, detailed enough to impress Jack, yet succinct enough to maintain interest. He was navigating uncharted waters, the fear of failure mingling with an intoxicating thrill of potential success. In previous months, he would have succumbed to the comfort of mediocrity. Now, however, he envisioned himself not merely as an employee, but as an agent of change. The narrative had shifted. It wasn't just about making a proposal. It was about staking his claim in this world that had always felt just out of reach. The stakes had escalated, and so must his resolve. He turned to the notes from his last conversation with Jack, a jumble of ideas and sketches strewn across several pages. The more he reread them, the more his belief in their merit solidified. It was funny how clarity emerged from the chaos when he applied focused intention. Each component had a purpose, and he could feel them aligning into a cohesive vision. Suddenly, a vision wasn't just a thought. It morphed into a destination. With renewed focus, he began typing, stringing together solutions that addressed both operational inefficiencies and budgeting errors. He recalled the points Jack had raised. He anticipated objections, crafting counter-arguments in real time. His hands moved swiftly, the proposal no longer an assignment, but a passion project, his first real step into leadership. However, a lurking doubt remained. Who were you to challenge the status quo? His mind questioned, reeling him back into a past where he swept floors and was seen but rarely heard. But he quickly countered that thought, reflecting on the progress he had made and the small triumphs that had paved this path. Memories of his early mornings scheming ideas about efficiency pressed against the present moment, entwining ambition with self-doubt. Breaking from his thoughts, he glanced outside the window. The city bustled with energy, a contrast to the intense silence enveloping his office. People hurried past, and he wondered how many shared his frustrations and dreams, silently longing for change while confined to their roles. This realization struck deep. He was not alone in his ambition. Others navigated similar struggles, and if he could rise above, perhaps he could inspire others too. With a newfound sense of purpose, Tom dove deeper into his work. Hours blurred into a fervor of numbers and projections, the sun setting beyond the skyline. As he crafted the final components, a revelation struck him. This was not merely about the proposal to impress Jack. It was about self-affirmation, a challenge to redefine his identity and value in a world that had persistently overlooked him. What he produced could serve as a bridge, not just for himself, but for those similarly trapped in the shadows. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, Tom leaned back, physically exhausted, but mentally invigorated. He reviewed his proposal one last time, every detail polished, every point strategically woven together. He had crafted more than a proposal. He had forged a testament to his resilience. Suddenly, a sound broke through the silence, a series of taps at his office door. Startled, Tom's heart raced. Who would be here at such an hour? Was it Jack? An opportunity? Or perhaps an unwelcome interruption to his moment of triumph? His breath caught in anticipation as he turned, grappling with the challenge that lay just beyond the door. Whatever awaited him would test the resolve he had summoned, and as he squared his shoulders, he knew that he had finally uncovered something far more significant than mere skills or insights. He had discovered a leader within himself, ready to confront whatever the future held. Tom took a deep breath, summoned his courage, and opened the door. The figure standing in the doorway was not Jack, but a familiar face. Susan, his colleague and confidant. A hint of concern shadowed her features, giving him pause as he stepped aside to let her in. "Tom, are you okay? I saw your light on and I wanted to check in," she said, her voice steadying his racing heart. There was warmth in her gaze, but it was laced with curiosity that edged towards concern. "Yeah, just finishing up a proposal," he replied, suddenly aware of how defensive he sounded. He motioned toward the half-finished document on his laptop. "It's a big deal for me. I'm pushing for some changes that could really shake things up around here." Susan leaned against the desk, arms crossed, appraising him with keen interest. "I know you've been working hard. I've seen the way you've changed this last year. You're not just that guy who flew under the radar anymore." Her words felt like a double-edged sword. They were encouraging yet carried the weight of high expectations. Tom's insides clenched again. "I've been trying, but this proposal might not even make a difference. What if I miss the mark? What if Jack dismisses it entirely?" "Then he dismisses it," Susan shot back fiercely. "But you're stepping up, Tom. That matters more than you think. People notice. Her belief in him flickered a light in the shadows of his doubt. Still, he wrestled internally. Could he truly step into that role of a changemaker? The thought of failing in front of everyone haunted him, clinging to the edges of his ambitious ambitions. And if he doesn't like what I've put together? If he doesn't see the value in it, does that mean I'm not cut out for this? Failure is a part of growth, Tom. You can't forget that, she said sharply. But don't let it keep you from trying. If you want to be a leader, you have to be willing to risk failure. You might be surprised by how much you can learn from it. Those words struck a chord deep within him. He wasn't just setting out to impress Jack. He was setting out to embrace a version of himself that had long been dormant. A version that could deal with both triumph and failure. Thanks, Susan, he offered, feeling a flicker of gratitude deep in his chest. I guess I really needed to hear that. She smiled, a genuine, warm smile that lightened the weight on his shoulders. Just remember, it's not just about the proposal, it's about who you are becoming in the process. As she left, Tom found himself once more at the desk, looking at the glowing screen before him. The proposal wasn't just a document. It was a reflection of his journey, a chance to announce his new self to the world. He typed furiously, each keystroke imbued with purpose and determination. As he finalized the document, adrenaline coursed through his veins. This was it, an amalgamation of ideas, courage, and the belief that change was not just possible, but necessary. He felt ready for Jack's response, whatever it might be. More importantly, he felt ready to confront the uncertainties of his future. Just as the final words were inked into the proposal, Tom received a message notification. It was from Jack. We need to meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. I want to talk about your proposal and some other changes, the text read. Tom's heart raced again. The time had come to face his greatest challenge and opportunity yet. Would Jack see the merit in his hard work? Was he truly prepared for what lay ahead, not just professionally but personally as well? He took a deep breath, the mixture of excitement and fear electrifying his senses. Tomorrow would not only be a critical day for the proposal, it would mark a pivotal moment in his journey from anonymity to accountability. With the clock ticking, Tom understood that the true test was about more than just this proposal. It was a test of his very essence. And as he closed his laptop, one thought echoed in his mind. Was he ready to embrace not just the risks, but the responsibilities of leadership? Tom awoke the next morning with the weight of anticipation sitting heavily on his chest. The sun barely peeked through his curtains, and despite the early hour, he felt a surge of energy coursing through him. Today wasn't just another day. It was a crucible moment. He showered, mind buzzing with thoughts of his proposal and the stakes at play. His mind replayed Susan's words. It's not just about the proposal. It's about who you are becoming in the process. They reverberated through him, shifting his perspective. Was this meeting merely about convincing Jack, or was it about owning his journey? The question propelled him forward, igniting a determination he hadn't fully recognized before. As he dressed, he scrutinized his tie in the mirror. Was it too bold? Too conservative? Each adjustment came with the tension of wanting to appear confident while battling his own self-doubt. He opted for a classic look, a decision grounded not just in appearance, but in stepping into a new persona. He would not just be Tom the employee, but Tom the leader. He left for the office earlier than usual, feet carrying him faster than necessary. The whir of traffic, the sights and sounds of morning commuters, all pushed him into a contemplative rhythm. He thought about the proposal. The changes he envisioned had the potential to reshape their project for the better. But doubt crept in. Did he overestimate its importance? Would Jack dismiss it as folly? Upon arriving, he settled himself at his desk. The clock ticked louder than usual, each second a reminder of the imminent confrontation. Tom took a few moments to meditate, repeating mantras in his mind. Today was an opportunity, not just a test. He recited Susan's advice: embrace the risk of failure. With this newfound clarity, he turned his focus inward. What did he truly want from this meeting beyond a hopeful nod from Jack? With his proposal up again on the screen, Tom reviewed the document one last time. Each line told his story, a narrative of courage woven through data points and projections. He made small adjustments, confident now that he could articulate not just what he wanted to achieve, but why it mattered. This could be his testament to those who had doubted him, including himself. At 9:50 a.m., anxiety stirred in his stomach. He walked to Jack's office, each step weighted with purpose. Was he ready to own this moment? As he knocked, he felt the familiar pang of fear creep into his thoughts. No more retreating to the shadows. He was here to advocate, to assert himself, and to present a vision. "Come in." Jack's voice boomed from within. Tom opened the door, making sure to project confidence. Jack sat behind his desk, a blend of authority and curiosity etched on his features. The room's decor was a reflection of Jack's assertiveness, bold and polished. It mirrored the man himself, sharp, strategic, yet undeniably human. "Tom," Jack gestured for him to sit, "I've been looking forward to hearing about your proposal." As Tom began to speak, his voice steadied by the conviction that had taken root in his mind, an unexpected thought flashed through him. This was more than just a presentation. It was an awakening. It was time for him to step fully into a version of himself that strived for impact. Each point he made illuminated the thought processes that had formed behind his decisions. He no longer hesitated. Jack's eyes scrutinized him, but instead of withering beneath that gaze, Tom found strength in it. He began to articulate not merely what he thought, but what he believed the project could mean: transformation, efficiency, and teamwork. As he reached the conclusion of his presentation, he sensed a shift in the room. Jack leaned back in his chair, considering. Tom's heart raced. Had he effectively communicated his vision? Was Jack ready to see not just the proposal, but the man behind it? Before Tom could process further, Jack leaned forward. "That's a bold vision, Tom, but we need to dig deeper into the implications." The emerging dialogue opened like a floodgate, revealing intricate considerations about the rollout, the potential pitfalls, and the necessity for team alignment. But under it all, Tom felt a burgeoning confidence in being at the center of it all. What he didn't foresee was the multi-dimensional scrutiny Jack was about to apply, not just to the proposal, but to Tom himself. As Jack began presenting his probing thoughts, Tom braced himself for what was coming. Would he be able to hold on to the newfound strength, or would self-doubt claw back into view? The air thickened with tension, as Tom realized this meeting was more than a chance at acceptance. It was an ultimatum of self-discovery. Would he rise to the challenge set forth before him, or would he falter? And as the discourse deepened, Tom questioned yet again. Who was he truly in the face of potential rejection? Tom's pulse quickened as Jack leaned into the discussion, his expression shifting to one of critical analysis. The stakes were palpable. The room felt charged, as if reality itself was being rewritten with every word exchanged. Jack's penetrating gaze bore down on Tom, who wrestled with the urge to swallow his anxiety. Here lay his chance to not only defend his proposal, but to reveal the deeper layers of his aspirations. "Your vision is compelling," Jack stated, his tone measured. "But what leads you to believe the team can execute this without friction? What about the potential resistance from management?" Tom clenched his fists, fighting to maintain his composure. Resistance was something he had experienced firsthand, not just in his professional life, but within himself. He could feel the dormant insecurities bubbling up, questioning his worth and capability. Instead of allowing them to take root, he drew from the reservoir of conviction he had cultivated that morning. Great ideas often face resistance, but they also foster innovation when challenged, Tom replied carefully, his voice unwavering. He took a breath, consciously grounding himself. "I believe the team is ready for this. They've expressed a thirst for more responsibility and ownership over their work. This proposal can catalyze that. Jack narrowed his eyes, clearly intrigued yet unconvinced. You may be right, but leadership is more than presenting ideas. How would you handle dissent? There will be skeptics. The question expanded Tom's horizon. Suddenly, this conversation was no longer a simple defense of his proposal, but a crucible of leadership where vision and execution intertwined. The self-assuredness he fought to maintain became a pivotal anchor in his response. I believe in openness and transparency. Engaging the team early, involving them in the process, and addressing concerns directly can transform potential dissenters into allies. I've seen it happen before. With each point, Tom found himself stepping deeper into the role he aspired to inhabit. One that wasn't just about being heard, but about fostering a culture where collaboration was paramount. As he took in Jack's response, the slight tilt of Jack's head suggested that he was considering not only the merit of the proposal, but the potential in Tom himself. Interesting, Jack said, an unexpected hint of approval lightening his demeanor. But what if you fail? What if you fall short of these ambitious goals? Silence hung thick in the air. The question cracked open a deep-seated fear within Tom. The prospect of failure loomed, threatening to silence all he had worked to build. But just as quickly, the echoes of Susan's words came rushing back. It wasn't merely about outcomes. It was about the pursuit, the journey itself. Failure is a part of growth, Jack. If we're never willing to take risks, we can never truly accomplish anything meaningful. I'd rather aim high and learn from shortcomings than settle for mediocrity. There was a shift in Jack's demeanor, an acknowledgement of the courage behind Tom's transparent vulnerability. Tom sat a little taller, feeling that perhaps, just perhaps, he was beginning to transcend his own limitations. The question was no longer if he could convince Jack, but if he could convince himself of his worthiness to lead. As the discussion rolled onward, focusing on intricate logistics and setting timelines, Tom felt a thrill of adrenaline. He harnessed every insight he had, transforming ideas into a tangible framework for success. Jack challenged him further, each question cutting deeper as Tom strove to articulate not just practicalities but vision. Yet, amidst the flow, Tom felt another creeping doubt, the looming specter of potential rejection. If this discussion crystallized who he was becoming, what if Jack still chose against him? As the clock ticked on, Tom's mind swirled with the possibilities, the stakes, and his own evolving resolve. The lesson of the meeting expanded beyond what he had initially grasped. It wasn't just a proposal riding on the edge of acceptance. It was a testament to the evolution of a man facing his fears. The more he revealed, the more he understood about himself. The leadership qualities buried beneath layers of self-doubt, waiting for the right moment to unfurl. But just as he felt a calm wash over him, Jack paused, his eyes narrowing again, an enigmatic smile tracing his lips. Tom, I have to say, I'm impressed so far. However, I still have one last matter to address. The intensity in Jack's gaze drew tighter, and as Tom prepared for whatever challenge lay ahead, he felt a tension ripple through him. This wasn't over. It was only the beginning of something far greater than he had anticipated. Would he rise to the occasion, or would the shadows of his past decisions reveal themselves yet again? Jack's next question came with the weight of an impending storm. Tell me, Tom, he began, his voice steady yet penetrating. What will you do if your vision is met with utter failure? If everything you've proposed collapses under scrutiny? The air thickened around them, and Tom felt as if the walls were closing in, compressing the breath from his lungs. His heart raced, not with fear, but with a strange, electrifying thrill. Wasn't this the crux of his journey? To confront the fear of failure head-on? I would analyze the reasons for that failure, he began, his voice firm, tracing a path through uncertainty. I'd embrace it as an opportunity to grow, to learn. Failure is not the end. It's a powerful teacher. Jack seemed pleased, yet remained guarded, a flicker of skepticism still evident. And what would you do with that knowledge? Wouldn't it just validate your doubts? Tom inhaled deeply, channeling the conviction that had emerged during their discourse. I'm learning that setbacks are a springboard for resilience. Each failure informs the next step, and instead of sinking into self-doubt, I plan to rise, adapt, and refine my approach. This isn't just my proposal at stake, but a chance to craft a vibrant team dynamic, one that thrives on exploration and innovation. Jack nodded, his interest piqued. There was a shift in the room, an acknowledgement that Tom was no longer the junior employee timidly fighting for recognition. He was evolving into a figure of purpose and determination. He felt an awakening within, a realization of his own potential in a way that had never crystallized before. Those are solid points, Jack replied, though his brow furrowed slightly, as if still searching for a flaw. But let's think more globally. What's the ultimate impact you want to achieve? Is it just about the team, or do you envision something larger? The challenge echoed, offering Tom yet another opportunity to solidify his resolve. This time, Tom paused only for a moment, collecting his thoughts. It's about cultivating a culture that encourages risk-taking and open dialogue, he articulated, confidence blossoming within his tone. If we can create a team that feels safe to express ideas and concerns, then we're laying the groundwork for a ripple effect, one that extends beyond our department to influence the company's trajectory. Jack's demeanor shifted again, intrigue mingling with respect, but Tom felt the friction of doubt reemerge. Was he reaching too far? Stretching the boundaries of his ambition? Was he even capable of leading such a transformational shift? The questions loomed, but Tom steeled himself, drawing upon the internal strength he had discovered in their prior exchanges. I want to inspire others to break their own barriers, to build something genuinely impactful, he declared. Each word echoed in the silence surrounding them, reinforcing his vision. Jack leaned back in his chair, contemplating, an inscrutable expression on his face. You've meticulously crafted a vision, Tom. But visions are easily shattered if not grounded in reality. What's your plan if you encounter resistance from those who should be your allies? Tom's heart raced. This was not just an inquiry. It felt like a confrontation with his innermost fears. In that moment, he recognized the true test lay not only in his ability to present strategies, but in his willingness to confront the inherent challenges of leadership. Open dialogue is essential, he replied slowly, thinking through the potential ramifications of his answer. I'd initiate discussions that prioritize understanding over disagreement. By fostering an environment where quiet voices can be amplified, we transform adversaries into advocates. I've learned that it's the barriers we build internally that often create resistance. If I challenge my own fears, I can encourage others to do the same. Jack's expression softened, revealing a flicker of respect mingled with something else, perhaps approval or recognition of Tom's potential. Yet the faint trace of skepticism still lingered, and that gap felt like an insurmountable chasm at that moment. Very well, Tom, Jack concluded, his tone neutral, yet hinting at gravity. But every leader must face the moment when they have to substantiate their words with action. Can you commit to leading with integrity in times of crisis, when faced with dissent? Tom swallowed hard, the challenge reverberating within him. Was he prepared to back his aspirations with actions that aligned with his words? The door to self-realization had swung wide open, revealing myriad paths ahead. The question now loomed over him, heavier than the weight of expectation. Could he truly commit to the journey of leadership as he had envisioned it, even when the outcome was uncertain? As silence draped over the room, Tom felt himself standing on the brink of something monumental, the precipice of self-discovery. Whatever response lay beneath the surface demanded urgent clarity. Would he rise, or would he retreat once more into the shadows of apprehension? His next words would define not only his path, but the essence of the leader he hoped to become. What lay ahead was not merely a test of his proposal, but a trial of his very identity. The time had come to define who he truly was, and he felt the heat of the moment course through him, igniting a fire that refused to be extinguished. Tom leaned forward, his palms resting on the table, heart hammering in his chest. "I can commit to that," he said, his voice steady, yet internally it felt like echoing thunder. "I will lead with integrity, even when challenges arise." The determination surfacing within him wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was a pivotal realization. If he was truly to embrace this leadership role, he would have to walk the treacherous line between vision and reality, success and failure. He sensed Jack's scrutiny intensifying, the weight of the moment pressing closer. Yet it ignited something deeper within him, a profound clarity. "What choice will you make when the voices around you rise in opposition?" Jack challenged, his tone persistent, requesting the depths of Tom's resolve. Tom inhaled deeply. His mind raced, navigating through examples of leaders he admired, the ones who had stood firm in their beliefs regardless of dissent. In his mind, he could hear their voices encouraging him to remain true to himself, even amidst discord. "I will listen," he stated, the conviction in his words solidifying as if anchored to his core. Listening is an act of leadership. Resistance can stem from misunderstanding or fear, and I want to understand my team's perspectives before acting. My first priority will be creating a foundation of trust. Jack nodded, a flicker of recognition sparking in his gaze. And if that foundation is still shaken? What if trust is a luxury you cannot afford at that moment? An unsettling chill sparked within Tom. If trust faltered, what could he possibly do? A bubbling uncertainty nagged at him, but he quickly pushed it aside. "Then, I will demonstrate my commitment through accountability and transparency. I will own my decisions, ensuring that my actions align with the integrity I wish to represent. It will require perseverance, but I believe it's possible." The room felt charged as Tom spoke. His pulse quickened, not just from confronting Jack, but also from revealing a part of himself he didn't fully know existed. He was no longer just Jack's junior employee. He was a man willing to stake his identity on his convictions. Jack's expression shifted, as if a new layer of appreciation had formed, yet a thread of skepticism remained. "Commitment is noble, Tom, but words alone cannot build a legacy. Show me you can transform vision into action, a vision that engages others to triumph in adversity." A flicker of intimidation brushed against Tom again. Could he truly rally others and become the leader he aspired to be? What did action look like? "Every great leader encounters moments of tension," he replied, grappling with fragility and strength. "It's about mitigating that tension respectfully, involving others in the process of navigating difficulty together." Jack's eyes narrowed slightly as he scrutinized Tom's response. "Very well. Let's see how you execute this principle. A challenge awaits you." Tom's heart quickened, anticipation morphing into apprehension as Jack continued. "You will present your proposal to the entire department next week, and your leadership will be tested on both sides of this journey. Inspire them as you've inspired me, or face direct scrutiny." Each word landed heavily in the room, reverberating through Tom's consciousness. Presenting before the department meant exposing himself to vulnerability, his ideas, his leadership style, and all the inherent risks. "What if I can't?" The whisper of doubt crept in, taunting him. The gravity of his situation sunk deeper, yet the spark ignited moments earlier began fighting back against the looming shadows. He was compelled to acknowledge his aspirations. "I embrace this challenge," he declared, voice resolute. Jack regarded him for a moment, and this time, the respect in his expression translated into motivation rather than criticism. "Then face this challenge with the same conviction and prepare for the tides ahead." Leaving the office, Tom felt a torrent of emotions swirling: nervousness, excitement, fear. But beneath it all, unstinting determination surged within him. If he could show his team the value of collaboration and innovation, perhaps he wouldn't just be presenting a proposal, he would be offering them a new way of working together. As he walked through the corridors, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the brink of a transformative journey. With every step forward, the stakes became higher, not just for his career, but for the man he desired to become. Regaining confidence, he recognized that this was his moment to ignite change. But just as he reached for his phone to start drafting his presentation, an email alert chimed. It was from one of his closest colleagues, and the message contained an unexpected twist, precisely the kind of resistance that could derail everything he was working for. Was the challenge ahead about to come crashing in before he could even take the stage? The moment of truth approached. Would he navigate this unexpected barrier? Or would he falter in a moment he could not afford to miss? Tom stared at the email that bloomed like an ominous shadow across his laptop screen. His colleague voiced doubts about the proposal, arguing that it defied established norms and had the potential to sow division within the team. Each word felt like a heavy chain locking him back into a past of unrecognized value. Internal resistance scratched at the surface of his newfound conviction. But rather than cower away, something inside him sparked. A flame ignited by the challenges he had already faced. This was an opportunity to engage rather than retreat. What if he utilized this external dissent to strengthen his internal resolve? Tom recalled the profound teachings he'd received during his discussions with Jack about leadership and approached the moment with a clarity he hadn't known before. With a steady breath, he tapped back a reply, not with defensiveness, but with a framework for dialogue. I appreciate your concerns and would love to discuss them further. Open communication is crucial as we shape this proposal together. This response felt liberating. It was a clear affirmation of his transformation. Rather than simply fighting for his vision, Tom embraced collaboration. This was the essence of true leadership. Each correspondence grounded him further, a vivid contrast to the fears that had plagued him just weeks prior. As the week unfolded, Tom found himself synthesizing countless conversations, all of which expanded his vision from a solitary proposal to a collective journey. He engaged with varying perspectives, drawing insights from colleagues that had begun to coalesce around his initial idea. They began to see the potential, and so did he. Each discussion reinforced a potent lesson. Leaders don't merely present, they cultivate and inspire. The day of the presentation arrived, and Tom stood outside the conference room, heart pounding yet resolute. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about a shared vision that could uplift and unite. Each colleague was more than an audience member. They were collaborators, partners in exploration. With a deep breath, Tom stepped inside, meeting the gazes of his team, faces layered with skepticism and curiosity. As he began, he spoke not only of the statistics and strategies, but manifesting the collaboration journey that had preceded this very moment. His authentic enthusiasm was infectious, interwoven with stories of collective engagement and the potential rewards of their united endeavor. The fears that once haunted him morphed into excitement that electrified the room. At the conclusion, he invited questions, revealing the confidence he had built from weeks of preparation. The dialogue flowed seamlessly. Skepticism transformed into curiosity. Skepticism mutated into constructive feedback. Each question fired back at him was not a personal affront, but an exploration of possibilities. Tom felt the tension ease as the room shifted, perceptions evolving in real time. The moment culminated with a wave of applause. A mixture of relief, acknowledgement, and transformed energy reverberated against the walls. Tom looked around, absorbing the exchange of ideas, feedback flowing like music. This wasn't simply a win for him. It was a collective victory, a testament to the true strength of leadership. While discussions continued afterward, the atmosphere shimmered with newfound potential. Jack approached him, a slight smile breaking through the usual stoicism. You've done well, Tom. I see your vision and the value it can bring, more than I initially anticipated. As the meeting adjourned, Tom felt a profound sense of fulfillment wash over him. Here was recognition, not just for his idea, but validation of his evolution. A transition from the shadows of the janitorial closet to taking center stage as a leader. He had conquered his self-doubt, shattered perceptions, and crafted a pathway not just for himself, but for his colleagues. The journey transformed in a way that even Tom hadn't realized until now. A full circle moment where he wasn't just cleaning the floors. He was shaping the vision from the ground up, reclaiming his rightful place with solid confidence. As he left the conference room, a triumphant smile broke through his contemplative exterior. The narrative had systematically shifted, from Tom the janitor to Tom the visionary. Today, he proved to himself and to others that perseverance and authenticity were the bedrock of not just personal achievement but shared success. Now was the time to elevate that narrative further. The journey of self-discovery had unfurled a truth he had long been waiting to embrace. He was not merely a part of the structure. He was instrumental in reshaping it. Every inch of the firm felt different as he walked back to his office. Possibilities swirled around him like an invigorating wind against his skin. Alongside his newfound confidence rested the palpable hope that reverberated with each step. It was an initiation he now craved beyond just the walls of this firm. It was an invitation to engage, inspire, and lead in ways that extended far beyond his position. The horizon had expanded, and the possibilities were endless. Now was the moment to seize the future, to keep rising. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now, show your support, and don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.